We're very fortunate to have Michele Kemper and Jen Sinconis, who are co-authors of a diary called A Pound of Hope. Strongly encourage you to go to the website, apoundofhope.biz, learn an awful lot more about it, read a little bit that you see on the website, and then, my goodness, you're probably going to want to get the book. Also, you get to watch this show again on YouTube. There it is. Go to YouTube, Public Exposure Scan. We'll get it up there very soon. You said in the book, our babies don't cry. What does that mean? All babies cry.
Mine didn't. They were on oxygen ventilators, so they had a ventilator tube in their mouth, down their throat, which means they can't cry. So in a room, in a NICU full of babies, with the majority of them being on ventilators, none of those babies are making a sound.
All you hear is the ventilator machines.
Yeah.
No crying.
So you hear baby after baby, or you see baby after baby, but no crying.
No sound.
Right.
No sound.
No sound.
Now, the NICU bills were expensive. $10,000 a day.
Just for the room.
Per child.
Did you write a check?
Yeah, sure.
Per child. Okay, now, dealing with the hospital professionals, all of the doctors was something that was hugely important, no doubt. So there's a quote here from the book. At breakneck speed, we have gone from good afternoon to your son is in dire need of heart surgery. And you say, I want to smack her.
Right. Well, she broke my rule. We don't talk negative in the room. And I had a hard time with doctors that were so abrupt with bad news, or nurses, or any medical professional. Most of them were fantastic and delivered the bad news, because there was a lot of that, in a way that was very respectful.
Come on, Jen, it was more than a lot of bad news.
It was a lot of bad news. Yeah.
So how were you trying to will them to life?
Absolutely. I really believed, and it worked. Positive thought, everything was positive, and I always kept, maybe it was shock, maybe it was just me being naive, but I really always thought, so, if I can make them be okay, I have to do it through the power of positive thought. That's the only thing I can do. So
religion involved?
No, not like an organized religion, more of just the power of positive thought. I really believe in that.
Did people contact you and say they were praying for you and you
Absolutely.
said it was okay?
People from all over the world.
People we didn't even know from other countries were saying that we were in their prayer chains.
It was amazing. I mean, it just links, mom to mom is like this bond, and it's when your child is sick, it's like every mom in the country, in the world, feels that pain.
Did we get the picture up of taking the baby's temperature? Because that was an amazing picture there at how small the baby was. And we'll get to more pictures of that. But I want to go to this. The day ends on a depressed note with my emotions barely in check. I'm having anxiety attacks whenever I leave the hospital. With so many threats of death, I feel as if a part of me has already died. Tell us the situation of that. That
was a situation where both boys were not doing well, not expected to make it
through the night.
How old were they at that time?
That was probably 6 weeks, maybe. We went through that situation more than once, so I can't remember exactly where that came in the book. But I was having absolute panic attacks. I did a really good job of keeping myself together in the hospital, in the NICU, and keeping a smile on my face and keeping a positive attitude. But as soon as we left, every day it was just, I would break down.
So you and Justin were there often, I suspect.
Every day. I stayed at the NICU as much as I could, but certain rooms that we were in didn't have sleeping quarters. So we were actually in several hospitals and in several different situations, whether it was the normal NICU or the cardiac unit. And in some places I had a place to sleep or to just stay, and in some rooms I didn't. So anytime I could stay, I did. Dr.
Lim adjusts Ethan's oscillator lines, and he asked me, so tell me again just how far along were these boys? Was it 24 or 25 weeks?
That was a conversation that the doctor actually had with me. The medical community has kind of a cutoff date in terms of how far along in gestation that they'll do care for babies. And it's very critical at the 25-week cutoff. And so when he asked, the first words out of my mouth was, I'm sure they're 26 weeks.
So you lied?
I did. I lied because I wanted to make sure that we gave them all the due care that they were going to get. 24 weeks is kind of a cutoff point, and the boys were somewhere between 24 and 25 weeks.
Jen, was anyone advising you at the time, hey, maybe you should just let them go?
I had one nurse make not at the beginning, after about a month in the NICU, I had one nurse make the comment that she admired my strength for pushing forward the way I had, and that if she had children in my situation, she wasn't sure if she could put them through it. And it wasn't until she said that that I realized I even had a choice, or there was an option. And there wasn't for me.
Justin right there with you, huh?
I think, yeah, he was. But with that comment, I was alone, and I remember it really sticking with me to the point where, what do you mean you couldn't put them through it?
I want to go to a picture, but the words are, normally the light touch of my hands on Ethan calms him, but not today. His breathing is off and he is tripping alarms. What was that all about?
He was not doing well, and at that point, this was halfway through our medical stay, our NICU stay, and we were there for over 5 months. I knew him well, so I knew something was wrong. Mm-hmm. And I told the nurse something is off, and the nurse wasn't really believing me. And I was right.
Well, I guess the point, it relates to your communication with the entire hospital staff, and with you being there all the time. Did they just get tired of you, or what was the deal?
There were different hospitals and different staffs. The hospital and the staff we were with for the longest period of time were fantastic. They absolutely listened to me. They ran all of their treatment by me and really made me a part of that medical team. There were other hospitals that we were at for shorter periods of time, and they were large hospitals. They had a lot of sick babies to take care of, and we were not the sickest children at some of these places.
But your boys were pretty special in the two hospitals, though, were they not? I mean,
yes.
They were constantly called at that time miracle babies.
Absolutely. But you know, so it depended on the hospital. Some groups were fantastic. Some groups it was harder to be heard as somebody that was had a voice, as more than just a concerned, overprotective parent.
And I think what Jen's describing here is in the hospital that we were at for the longest, the parent was part of the medical team taking care of these boys, whereas in other hospitals it seemed to be more specialist-centric as opposed to patient or parent child-centric. Just a different way of approaching the problem.
Crisis times 2, NICU day 9. You may want to call your family now, and if you want a religious leader present, now would be the time. So they had survived. And then, but there was all of these difficulties, and I guess every day of 24 hours probably seemed like eons. It
was a constant roller coaster up and down. They would be fine. They'd be stable 1 minute and unstable the next. So it was the full time we were there. I mean, the full 5 months we were receiving that type of communication.
And that communication came in at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Doctor
that was
called her
actually
at
a phone call at home, in bed, get up, come down to the hospital. Again, panic attack in full swing as we're driving in, and calling our parents at, I think we were called at like 3 a.m. saying, you better come.
We got to get to a break, but before we do, I want you to think about this quote from you, Michele. This was where Jen was asking you for any kind of advice, anything that you could do to help, and you said this experience is like riding the back of a dragon. It's a dangerous ride, and we're scared we'll fall off if we let go, so the only choice that we have is to hang on tight and tame those dragons not to bite. We're talking with Jen Sinconis and Michele Kemper, who are the co-authors of A Pound of Hope. But it's more than co-authors. They've lived this. And strongly encourage you to go to the website around poundofhope.biz, and you're going to learn an awful lot more. You're probably going to want to get the book because it is an amazing read. And if you want to see this show again, go to YouTube, Public Exposure Scan.